We're live. We're back. If you're new here, then you don't really know what happened, but just a little bit technical difficulties. Had to turn it off and come back on. But happy 4th of July weekend. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you had a great morning. Hope you had a great rest. Right now we're getting Ricky in here. Ricky will talk to us about his journey, not only as a transitioning from a fitness trainer, a fitness studio owner, but how he's dealt with type 1 diabetes and how this has changed his life. And he's here today. Good morning,
Hey,
Ricky. How's it going?
hey, good morning. Good.
Good, man. You look like you're drenched. You look like you're ready to start the day.
Something like that. Something like that. Always got to start early.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm a fan of the morning workouts. I haven't had one in a while, but I definitely am a big fan of them. They get you ready to start on the day. But how's your morning going so far?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain. Good weekend off, so ready to get a good weekend.
All right, that's perfect. All right, guys, we're gonna jump straight into it. Again, if you didn't know already, Ricky, great guy, awesome guy, did a great transition. I've actually seen him before, early in the days, and it was funny getting him on here because it started with a kind of absurd question. I was like, "Hey, did you used to work here?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, and it was crazy because you don't see any instance or any example of him ever working there, but it was just based on just based on just memory. But I guess Ricky, first question, let's just ask because how'd you even get into fitness? What was, I guess, your motivation to even get into fitness, and how did that go?
Yeah, so I think the main part of getting into fitness, I feel like a lot of people do this too, just starting early with sports, being a big sports fan, being involved in a lot of sports. And I think over the years, once you kind of hit like 16, 17, and you realize that you're probably not going to go to the next level of sports, once you get to 18, then you
Yep.
kind of go from training with your teammates, training with your buddies, to all of a sudden you still want to get that kind of fix, that exercise. And I guess that's kind of what then goes into the fitness side of things.
Oh wow, that's interesting because it's similar for me. I'm not sure which sport you did, but I did basketball actually, and that was kind of it. Same thing. It was like, hey,
Yeah,
um,
that's funny.
well,
That's the same for me. I mean, I used to play the National League basketball in England till I was like 18,
wow,
17, 18. And as soon as that cut happens at 18, it's pretty much all of the guys that don't make it pro in America,
yep,
all of that them college players come over and play pro ball in England. So it's all of a sudden you go from that certain level, and then the level just jumps
yeah.
dramatically.
Yeah, it's actually absurd, like how big the difference is,
Yeah.
and you're almost like, let's just start with height. So we got to work a little
Yeah.
bit different.
Don't worry about the skill level, just worry about the height.
We're about the height right now, but
Right.
wow, oh, that's crazy. That's the same way I got into it. It was like that's still like you said that you still wanted that fix in a way, and it's like a weird fix. It's like you're almost, I guess, how would you say what that fix was? Because when we were training and when I was training for basketball, it felt like it was just it was very tough, and
Yeah.
and in a way, it was like you kind of seek something else that's tough, something else that
Yeah.
get you breathing a little bit heavy. But what was it like for you?
I don't know. I just feel like every day you like to have that little bit of a release. It's like almost like a bit of an escapism. And if you don't get that, I don't know, you just I feel like you have to get it at some point throughout the day, just that release, you know what I mean?
Right? Yeah, I'm with
Everyone
you.
has that fix, and I guess ours is fitness.
I'm with you. Yeah, definitely 7 days. I mean, I'm not speaking for everyone. We're practicing 7 days a week. It's like if you're not sweating, going from not practicing and sweating every day to not at all is kind of like a big jump. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine not moving towards anything. But I guess speaking of moving, speaking of transitioning, um, so you almost went from basketball to fitness, now from fitness trainer. I'm assuming, right? Fitness trainer,
Yeah.
and then fitness trainer to fitness studio owner. Well, I guess how was that process like from fitness studio owner?
So for me, it was just, I guess I've been in the fitness industry since I was like 17. And then I moved to Australia in 2014. And I saw this new concept coming up called F45. It was kind of like personal training, but in a group environment.
Oh wow.
So for me, like I'd never really done group classes before. It was never even anything that had really crossed my mind. But just walking by that studio every day was very different. The music, the atmosphere, the vibe, everything like that, very
Mhm.
different to what I thought of a regular group training class, like a Zumba or a body pump or something like that. And so I went in, tried it out, and just loved it. It was always part of kind of like my 5 year goal that I would love to own one of these fitness studios.
Mhm.
But I'm actually from England, so it was a big
Wow.
process to not only open the studio, but to be in America. It's kind of like a 5 year plan. And weirdly enough, in particular, it pretty much right on 5 years. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's, that's
Wow.
crazy. When you say put something out there and just stick with it, you see it materialize, if it's something you think about every day.
Mhm.
But I think the reason I prefer to go into this kind of group management, things like that, is just when you're personal training, maybe you have like between 20 and 30 clients realistically that you can manage to a pretty good level, especially if they're training 2 or 3 times a week. That's 50 to 60 hours of personal training.
Mhm.
But this enables you to branch out to so many more people. Although you might not get as much one on one time with them, you do get to impact a lot more people. You get to create a community. And it's just a fun thing to be a part of.
Wow. Wow. I guess I would look, in a way, it's like to start off as like, just like you said, you start off with a 5 year plan, or in a way. So it was like once I guess you saw that studio and it kind of triggered it, which I'm so caught off guard because I didn't know where F45 even started. Wait, do you think it was in Australia or it was
But
somewhere
yeah, so
else?
it started in Australia. So 2014 was probably like 10 studios, and one of the original ones opened
Wow.
up pretty much right next to where I was living at
Oh
the
wow,
time.
that's huge.
Yeah.
I guess it's like people I because I've seen it's crazy. I actually seen it on YouTube and I was like, oh, this is I don't know how did this make it to America? And then I saw one open up like no, I was like or Hunter's Creek. I was like, what's going on? And I
Yeah,
was
and
like, oh
now
wow, this is
now I
growing.
think there's like six in Central Florida, which is
Wow,
crazy to somewhat think that I brought it here from living there. You know what I mean? Like you could argue
right.
that if I didn't open one, there still might not be one in Central Florida.
That's
You know what
true.
I mean?
That's
Which is a
true.
crazy, crazy concept to think.
It is. It's literally like you brought something from across the world
Yeah.
over here. It's just crazy. That's crazy. You also mentioned another part that I really wanted to highlight is, I guess, that transition period from you moving here. It was kind of like, in a way, it was like that was a part of your plan too, right? Is
Yeah.
getting everything situated. So there was multiple goals within that one goal
Yeah.
of this F45, and those are multiple steps, which is actually just like thinking about it, I'm like, those are huge. Those are huge goals.
Yeah, I mean, every one of them was big. I mean, even just moving here and then obviously being able to open a business, being able to move and get situated. It was
Exactly.
just a lot happening.
Right. Yeah. Sheesh. Dude, congrats to you, man. That's awesome. I was actually gonna say one part caught me off guard, or not caught me off guard, but interests me. So from the fitness trainer, you're working with one person. Usually, most of the time, you're working with one on one. I
Yeah.
guess what type of energy or what type of person would you say you would be like, or the person you are to be able to do group training? Because group training, I feel like it's a different type of energy that you have to bring to the table as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think with personal training, your energy level can definitely be a little bit lower. It's a little bit more educational at times and just really
Right.
going through movement patterns. Obviously, the group exercise, it's the music absolutely blasting. Although you
Right.
are getting that one on one time with people, but you're also keeping the room alive, keeping the motivation going. So I don't know. I feel like as well, coming from like a sports coaching background, I feel like there's some crossovers to sports coaching and group
Hmm.
training. You've got your group in front of you. Your people are at different levels. You're just trying to keep the energy high the whole time. And at the
Hmm.
same time, you're picking up on different bits. You're making something easier for somebody. You're making something harder for somebody else. So it's all
Right.
about just trying to be like all inclusive. And there's no reason why everybody can't get to their goals in a similar setting,
Right.
especially when a lot of that comes to nutrition. So we do a lot of work with nutrition and diet and things like that as well, which definitely plays a huge, huge part.
It does. Right. I agree. And that's awesome because I feel like that's probably what some people may be thinking when it comes to like group exercise or individual training is like that one-on-one time. It's like in a way you're still being held accountable with
Yeah,
some of your peers in a way, and you're also still getting attention because it's kind of like in a group is that no one left behind mentality.
yeah,
I don't know. That's what I think of I don't know, coming from just basketball,
Yeah,
feels like it was like a no one left behind type of thing, especially when
yeah,
you're
and it's
running and
it's
doing plays.
great in the studio just to kind of see the community that's been built. You'll get somebody that's just started, very new to exercise, and you'll see the people that have been there for a long time that have had great results kind of take them under their wing, and it just takes a lot of that pressure off. I think a
Mm,
lot of people, especially now, like social media and advertisements and things like that, everybody has this idea of what sort of like a perfect
mm,
body should be, and
right.
obviously it can be quite daunting for someone that's hasn't been involved with sports, haven't been involved with fitness, and you take that first step to go into a gym. So it's great to have a group of people that will kind of embrace you and pull you in, and this is where I used to be and this is where I am now. It takes a lot of that pressure off of people.
I agree. I agree. It's definitely very helpful because I never had, or at least I never thought about that like up until you mentioned it. Um, do you notice how that plays a strong role, I guess, in your job nowadays or in your work nowadays? Is like how social media has impacted like people's views and things like that, or no?
I think so. Occasionally, you'll get somebody and you'll sort of ask what their goal is, and they'll show you a picture of somebody on
Uh,
social media, and you're just like, ugh, I hate to tell you, but like, there's a lot of pharmaceuticals going into that look, you know, like there's a lot of just like unnatural looks and things like that. So it's about people being realistic with basically their time, what they can put in. Not
mm,
everything's always going to be perfect, like lighting and things like that. So
right.
I do think that social media plays a negative role. Like, there's a big difference, I think, between health and fitness and the fitness industry. The
Yeah,
fitness industry necessarily isn't always the healthiest
I
route.
agree. I agree. It's funny you mentioned that because the first thing I thought of when you said that um, was the pharmaceuticals part was not only the pharmaceuticals, but it's like the lighting and like
Yeah,
the
and the
angle of the picture
Photoshop.
as a Photoshop. I'm like, wait a minute. I feel like and you have the almost like the upper hand because after being in the industry for for a good amount of years in just fitness and exercise in general, it's like you know what realistic looks like.
Yeah,
And it's like you really want to get there, it's a whole different schedule that you gotta have
yeah,
and a whole
for real.
different pharmaceutical bill that you got.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, this leads into the next question. What would you recommend for someone else interested in transitioning to open their own studio? With
Uh,
F45 or just in general?
I'd say it's just definitely got to be something that you're passionate about. Um, I mean, there's just so much goes into it, and it's kind of like you sort of learn along the way, but you have to be prepared to take all these things that are going to come. Like, especially when we first opened, uh, you're going to realize that a lot of it is outside of the fitness industry. Now, all of a sudden,
Mm,
you're worried a lot more about your sales and your marketing. It's one of them things. You could be the greatest trainer in the world, but if you can't sell and you can't market yourself, it's just
right,
not going to work at all.
right,
And you have to be prepared as well to pretty much work like a 24/7 schedule. You know what I mean? Especially in the beginning to get up and running. Right now, I'm fortunate. I'm in a great position coming back off COVID, and we have a great staff that we have at the moment, and we rely heavily on my staff. But definitely, originally when we first opened, I was kind of working every single class that we did. So starting at 5:30 in the morning, I was doing
wow,
all of the morning classes. Then in the afternoon, I'd go out and flyer and call people and email, social media, everything like that. And then I'd do the evening classes as well. I wouldn't get out of bed till like 8 p.m. So I'd kind of be there
wow.
from like 5:30 a.m. till 8 p.m. every single day. And it's one of them things like I can't remember who said it to me, but nobody's gonna care about your business the same way that you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, especially in them original days, it's all about just being fully invested, I guess, and being
right.
passionate about what you do. And you kind of have to stick with the program. You're gonna have your good days, your bad days, good weeks, bad weeks. The same with months. So it's just about seeing it through and sticking with it and believing in yourself as well. I think is definitely the biggest part.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. You mentioned
Yeah.
a good point. And I love that because we talk about that behind the scenes in a way. It's like no one's gonna care about your business as much as you do, and
Yeah.
no one's gonna put as much time, no one's gonna put as much energy, and much thought. And I'm happy you mentioned the other aspects of the business, because those are pretty much those are keep it running in a way.
Yeah.
Obviously, the passion, it has to be there, but also the adjustment to learning how, the ways to sell better, ways to market better, ways to get new people to know who you are, know how good you are, and your passion, and see that passion. It's huge. And I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts on it, but I don't see it being highlighted enough. Um,
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think, to be honest, even just from us being open, we've had a lot of people, random people that'll pop in and do a class and then be like, so how do I open one of these? And I guess one thing is to make the studio very enjoyable in a fun
mhm.
atmosphere, and it just looks like it's fun and ticks over by itself. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I guess that's the look you want to give off as well. But there
Mhm.
definitely is a lot of stuff behind the scenes, not only in your startup, but just to continue running, be successful, but also just to enjoy it yourself. You know what I mean? Because you do have to step back and be like, wow, like
Right.
full class to that tonight. Like, look at what we've created. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, you're always kind of striving for more.
Right. That makes sense. That's awesome. Yeah. I think that's probably one of the things then, as like being in it. I'm not sure what you think, but when you're in, I guess I would say when you're in the details, as someone who's supposed to be kind of looking over sometimes more often than not, depending on the stages, right? When you're in the details, sometimes it can kind of take you away from that grandiose vision of the company and where it's going, how the people, how the class even looks. Just when you're probably a little too focused. I wonder, how do you like take a step back sometimes, or when do you take a step back sometimes and look at that, or do you try and do that every day?
Yeah, to be honest, I think since obviously we were hugely involved once kind of COVID hit and what we could do to offer and social distancing and kind of change the whole game plan. But since then, definitely the last few months, I just feel like we have a great team now. And like I said, I know that they kind of have our best interests, and we definitely rely heavily on our trainers now and things like that. So it
Mm,
definitely does give you that peace of mind. Like when you go to sleep at night, you know that your trainer's going to open that door at 5 a.m., things like that,
right.
things that would worry you in the original stages. So now it's great. I mean, a lot of the time I'll just pop in through the day and maybe just do a workout and be out. You know what I mean? Just come in, check everything's good, and be gone. But nah, I think just having a good team around you definitely helps with that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think you're this in the world in a way is like reaping what you sowed, and reaping all of the hard work you've done, and I congratulate you on that. You know,
Thank you.
all the hard work you've done up to now, all of the battles, trials, and things you've done up to now. Um, that definitely needs to be highlighted, because no one knows what those 5:30 to 8 p.m. days look like. Um,
Yeah.
and some people do, and they could relate and be like, oh, okay, yeah, congratulations on that too. And speaking of trials, it seems like it came up pretty recently, that you're diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I guess, can you explain that for people that don't know? And then in addition to that, how can you say that impacted your life?
Yeah, definitely. So it was towards the end of 2019. Just started to feel pretty sick. Like I don't know, I was just super tired all the time, very lethargic, didn't feel good at all. I started to lose like a lot of weight. So I ended up going from 180 pounds all the way down to 139.
Oh, wow.
And 10 of those pounds happened very quick within kind of like a week period. So as we were coming towards the end of 2019, I didn't have health insurance yet over here.
Mm,
And never a person that goes to the doctors either. So I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm probably just
same,
tired,
yeah.
probably just stressed. You know what I mean? But the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I mean, I'm not stressed. And, you know, business is going good. Like, there's nothing to be necessarily stressed about. So I guess when it came into December, I was like, I'm going to put a lot more time into myself. You know, I'm going to gain some more weight. And I guess the more that I ate and the more that I trained, the more weight I lost and the more muscle I lost. So in
Wow.
the studio as well, we have a in-body scanner, so it shows you everything: how much muscle you have, how much body fat you have, everything like
Mm,
that. And I was just eating like maybe like 4 or 5 thousand calories a day and just dropping weight. It was crazy. So finally, I ended up going like the first day of 2020. Obviously, 2020, great year for everybody, but I started it early. So, first day of 2020, went into the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Found out that I had type 1 diabetes, which was obviously a huge shock. I mean, to be honest, it's something that is in my family. It's on my dad's side. He didn't get it till later, and I guess it never crossed my mind, just
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, that's something he dealt with. That wasn't anything to do with me. I didn't even know about the condition at all, really,
Right.
other than the fact that he had it. So it was a huge shock. So I basically went from the doctor's office straight to CVS. She was like, "You're gonna have a shitload of stuff to pick up," basically. So just huge brown bags of medications and needles and like, you know what I mean? I'm not. I don't hate needles, but it's not my thing. I don't think it's anybody's thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
it's definitely been a huge, huge adjustment. And I think the biggest thing that's an adjustment with diabetes is it's not something you can just take a pill for at the start of the day and everything's going to be good. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally something that's 24/7, and today's day might be different to tomorrow's. I might do the exact same routine, but just my body might act totally different to it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely tough to live with, and it does get a little bit easier, I guess, and manageable, but huge shock. Luckily, being in the fitness industry, the whole diet and nutrition is something I'm quite knowledgeable about, but I can imagine for somebody else,
You're not being
it would blow your
as
mind.
right, right, right. Wow. Yeah, it definitely seemed like it impacted like toughly. Is this one? Would you say is one of like toughest things you've dealt with?
I think so, for sure. I think more mentally than physically.
Right.
I don't mind having to take the shots and check my blood and things like that. But it just, I don't know. I guess the early days was definitely a confidence thing. I just lost so much weight. I was like frail. I was like, oh my God, it's something I'm gonna have to deal with every
Mm-hmm.
day from now on out. So it's just trying to get as much knowledge as you can, like anything.
Right.
Learn about the condition, how you can manage it the best you can. One of the first things that crossed my mind is like, am I not going to be able to play sports? Am I not going to be able to work out anymore? Or how's that
Mm-hmm.
going to look like? Even if I can, is it going to be almost impossible to build muscle? All of them things kind of cross your mind.
Right. Wow. Dude, that's strong, man. Like you have, I can't even imagine. But if, like doing my best to try, it's like you almost have to have like that mental like toughness in a way, and you have to battle. And I can see that definitely as something that would be a battle for anyone. But
Yeah,
especially in a way, it's almost like something even more of a battle because you're in the fitness industry, um,
yeah,
or you are owning a fitness studio and you do love to work out and you do love to nutrition. It's just feels like it's definitely something new, um, and not much people know about it, or not much people even talk about it.
yeah,
And I saw you did some a little bit earlier about diabetes awareness, um, but I can definitely see how that'd be tough. I for I guess because it seems like it's a lot of perspective. How has your perspective changed over time?
I think definitely just aiming towards just being fit and healthy. You know what I mean? Especially as a guy in like late 20s, early 30s. I think a lot of the time you just always think, you want to be big, you want to look good. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right,
definitely around the fitness industry. Now just kind of want to be fit and healthy, move good, live good, still have like a good physique and stuff. But definitely my main goal is just to sort of manage this. Um, and again, like I was saying, the mental part is definitely a huge part of it as well. So just to manage it well and kind of clear my mind of that, it's always just like a burden that's sitting on your shoulder all the
mm-hmm.
time. And I think, like you said, with the awareness, it's definitely weird when you're living with it on the other side. Like sometimes you'll eat something and someone's like, "Can't you not eat that?" And it's like we can eat anything we want. It's just you have to account for it and take insulin. It's basically the body works the same way, but while you produce something automatically, I have to do it manually. So as you eat something, your
Mm-hmm.
body's going to adjust to that. I can eat anything. I just have to manually put that insulin in my body prior to eating
Mm-hmm.
it. But one of the hardest parts, I think, is just that insulin that you take is it's active in your body for up to 4 hours. So if you work out maybe an hour to 2 hours after you injected and eaten, it just
Right.
really heightens that insulin in your body. So it might times it by 6, it times it by 7. So if you're working out, it can really drop your blood sugar very low, very quick, where you
Mm-hmm.
go into a condition called hypoglycemia, where essentially you can pass out. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you monitor your sugar and you're kind of staying within a certain range.
Right. So it's almost like the insulin is it's just helping your body function normally in a way.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I'd say the easiest way to kind of explain it is when you eat something, obviously the body breaks it down and that sugar goes into your blood. From your blood, it then goes into the muscles. So
right.
imagine that your muscles are all kind of like locked doors. The
Mm-hmm.
insulin then comes out of your pancreas and it's got the key.
Mm-hmm.
It opens up all of your muscles and that blood
Right.
goes in there. So without the insulin, basically your blood sugar would just go super high because it would be stuck
Mm.
in your bloods. And over the long term, that's really bad for you. That's why you can end up with amputations, kidney failure. Short
Mm.
term, you just feel really fuzzy and out of it as well.
Right. Right. Okay, that makes sense. That's a great explanation. Do you know? I guess just to ask because I'm curious. Do you know what's the difference? Type 1 and type 2.
So type 2 is generally sort of brought on by yourself. That's generally the one where people are more overweight and obese.
Gotcha.
It's basically because there's so much fat in the body, it's just making you very resistant to the insulin. So even if your pancreas is working, there's just
Mm-hmm.
so much fat in there in your blood and things like that that it's making it hard for that insulin to take effect.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
reversible. So with good diet,
Right.
exercise, you can reverse it, get yourself in a good position and be fine again. Well, type 1 is just essentially your pancreas does not work at all.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a dormant organ in your body.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've heard that. I was like, wait, which one is reversible? But yeah, I appreciate you explaining it. I know this has helped you grown a lot. So obviously, I've definitely, I know there's been tough instances with dealing with this, but I can also see that it has helped you grow. I guess in what areas do you see it help you grow mentally, um, in your life? I guess how would you explain?
Yeah, I think the biggest part is just routine. Like in order to control it, you have to have just like a solid, good routine.
Mm-hmm.
So one example would be obviously when you're asleep, it's almost half, well, it's not quite half of your day, but it's a good amount of time. It's 8 hours or whatever.
Right.
I always try and have like great blood control before I go to bed. So in order to do that and be 100% sure, I kind of have my last meal by 6 p.m. at night.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way, when I go to sleep, when I look and see what my blood sugar is, I know it's going to kind of just stay there the entire
Right.
time. Same with just in the morning, having a good routine with working out and things like that. I mean, not necessarily obsessed with like my fitness pal and tracking
Mm-hmm.
calories and things like that, but I'm always aware of how many carbs that I'm eating because I have to account for that. And at the same time, although I can eat anything, it just I keep it within a certain amount. Like I don't go ridiculous with like
Right.
let's say I used to go out and get pizza and pasta. Now I'd
Mm-hmm.
maybe have 2 or 3 slices of pizza and have like a side salad with that too, because it's going to be a lot more
Mm-hmm.
manageable. So I guess they're the good parts of it. I guess you hold yourself a little bit more accountable, like every single day. And when you have them days where you don't hold yourself accountable, it just ends up being a mess, and you feel like trash, and then you know
Right,
that
right,
you're
right.
gonna jump back on.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm thinking about it because like I guess when I used to do or when I did my fitness pal, like it felt like I that's the most on top of my health I've ever been.
Hmm.
Because it's like you know what you're eating, you know the calories, you know your body's reached like a homeostasis in a way.
Yeah.
Um, so you're like, okay, I can maintain this consistent. But in addition to that, it's like that accountability. I definitely was eating a lot more normally on my fitness pal. Now it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, I can have this meal at 12 or I can have this meal at 1. And then you kind of make up for it at around 8. But
Yeah.
in a way, it's like your body will react a little bit differently with that eating habit or that eating style. So seeing you do that is it's honestly like that's what everyone I feel like every trainer or every nutritionist should recommend is like people getting on a routine on what they eat
Yeah.
and consistent at least with their schedule. But no, that's great. I literally was thinking about as soon as you said like holding yourself accountable, the first thing I thought of was um, my fitness pal because
Yeah.
it's like it is literally telling you what you're eating And
And sometimes it's interesting too because you might say go to like a Planet smoothie or tropical smoothie and they say how many carbs are in something. So I'll take how much insulin that I need and I'll drink the drink. And then
mhm,
30 minutes later, my blood sugar is through the roof. So you see how much sugar sometimes goes into things
wow,
that you think is good for you. You know, you go somewhere for a health
wow,
smoothie, something like that, or like an acai bowl, something like that. And you'll see how much sugar is in there even when you
wow,
think you're eating healthy, but you have like a physical representation of, oh, damn, like my blood sugar's flying up.
dang,
So that means there's 3 times as much sugar in this as what I thought.
wow. So you're saying that pretty much some of the times when you maybe take the drink and put the smoothie in the MyFitnessPal, it'll say, oh, 80 grams or 60 grams or 50 grams or 40,
Yeah,
but it's actually more than that.
it can be. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's stuff to look out for sure.
Dude, that's groundbreaking because I feel like they try and do like the hey, this is the amount, and then
Yeah.
it's always standard. And I'm like, I don't know if it's always standard. I mean, people obviously make it different, make their smoothies different, but
Yeah.
um,
For me,
wow.
I kind of take like one shot for 20 grams of carbs. So
Mm,
if something was 60 grams of carbs, I'd take 3 shots. But after 30 minutes, I might see that my blood sugar is still flying up, which means it might have been 80 grams.
oh wow, oh, wow. Yeah, I absolutely got to keep my eye on that. That's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting because I think we hear that, or at least I hear that many times, is like the food outside of the world or the food outside what they're giving you may not be as easily trackable because they're cooking
Yeah,
with different
and
oils,
the
cooking with different
portion
things.
size and things like that.
Right. That's awesome. Um, Dude, honestly, it's been awesome. It's really been awesome having you. I got one last question, one last big question.
Yeah.
Um, what does the best version of Ricky look like?
Uh, I think best version just getting up early, getting myself all set. I like to get a workout in normally pretty early within the day. Um, I don't know. It's a really good question, but it is a good one. I think just finding that hunger and finding that motivation. Prior to opening up the studio, that's kind of all that I thought about. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always good to have your goals, short term and long term. And I think I need to find that in myself again. Even I
Mm-hmm.
think since I always say that I kind of have everything I ever wanted right now. Um, but prior to that was always working and striving towards something. And I think kind of
Right.
getting hit with the diabetes and my COVID coming along and just everything, I think my motivation kind of took a little bit of a hit.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely now that this is more kind of managed and the studio is where it is, I definitely like to push and strive to have 2 or 3 different studios.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me and for anybody, it's just to be motivated and set a goal that is crazy, but is
Mm-hmm.
also obtainable as long as you kind
Obtainable,
of
right?
stick to it and you're passionate about it for sure. Like I think it really is there for anybody. There's definitely a lot of opportunity over here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Personally, I think there's a lot more opportunity in America than where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
I think people just have to kind of go after it.
Right. That's awesome. I think like what you mentioned, like goals, it's even the big ones that seem a little crazy, but it's obtainable.
They're the
I
best
feel
ones.
like for me, those are awesome. I feel like those are the ones that keep me going. Like just like life in general, having a good time. You're like in the back of your mind, you always know that it was set, and then you're like, hey, you doing what you're doing to be working towards this, and you're like, oh, it's like regardless of what's happening and what's going on, it's kind of like it's always there. You know, you said
Definitely.
it. You know, you did it, or you know, you wrote it down maybe, and someone's like, it just needs a little reminder. And I feel like that motivation is just the motivation to do anything is strong.
Yeah, and
You definitely reminded me.
I think work life balance is definitely huge as well. I mean, I was
Right.
lucky and fortunate to do like a lot of traveling before I ended up setting over here.
Mm,
But I think it definitely does kind of broaden your horizons to just how big the world is and how much opportunity is out there. I think it's very easy, especially if you kind of live in where you were brought up, just to be in that kind of bubble and
Mhm.
have almost set expectations of seeing older friends or family members. They all kind of work in and around that area and they all sort of do the same thing. I think
Mhm.
when you travel, you realize that there's just so much going
So much
on a
more.
grander scale of the world, and anything really is obtainable. It's just about putting yourself in position to make that happen.
Right. Yeah, that's strong. That's strong. Ricky, keep working hard, man. Um, guys, just wanted to say one last thing. And if it's okay with you, if you are interested, if you're in the Hunters Creek area, if you are a trainer, you're interested in changing things up, you're interested in the group studio environment, please go ahead and send a message to Ricky. His Instagram will be somewhere in the description below. We'll also be posting in the story, so you can go over and check out his page. In addition to that, if you have any questions, have any interest in diabetes or dealing with it, go ahead, talk to Ricky. I'm definitely sure he can help. He provides some great advice, not only just for if you're dealing with diabetes, but in general, holding yourself accountable. And I feel like Ricky's a great example of that and being able to hold himself accountable and keeping his health in check. So, guys, if you haven't yet, go ahead and follow Ricky. Go ahead and send him a DM if you're interested in getting a trial session in. They're doing some great stuff over there. It's very energized. If you want, just look it up on YouTube. But it's probably better just to be inside. But Ricky, is there any last words, any last things you want to say
No,
to people
definitely.
watching?
Anybody watching this, I'd love for you to come by and try out a session in the studio. It's a huge mix of everything from strength, cardio, resistance, power. It's great kind of like athletic based training. So especially if you're coming from sports background or you're looking to add something to your repertoire, it's just fun. It's energized. It's very different to going to a regular sort of gym setting and having your beats on and doing your own thing. It's just a good system and good community.
That's awesome. I'm definitely gonna have to pass by and get a session in soon.
Yeah, come
Uh,
through.
but Ricky, I appreciate you, man. You've worked hard and you're continuing to work hard. I'm sure what you've done it shows. A lot of work, hard work that's gone through. You opening up the studio, not only opening up the studio, becoming a resident here, fighting and continuing to keep your health in mind. Not only that, dealing with the great fun active fitness studio. You've been doing this for a while, and definitely it shows. Like coming from where I seen you before, no cross promotion, but
Yeah.
coming from seeing you in that fitness studio, but coming to you seeing owning one now and being able to take a step back and have some trainers working on and having a good time and you being able to enjoy those workouts from a different perspective, it's great. Um,
Thank you.
Definitely hope anyone, if inspired, please go ahead reach out to Ricky. Right now, he's doing a great job in that, and I can't wait to see the couple of extra studios that he's brought to the U.S. So we'll see how much else he brings, but no crazy expectations. He's already done a great job, but I can't wait to see what's in for the future, Ricky. Hope you have a great day. Everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of it. Ricky, again, thank you for coming on. I hope
Perfect.
to
Thank you.
bring you on again in the future, and then hopefully we can get like a workout in soon,
Of course.
or
Sounds
a
good.
fit for 5:45. Um, but yeah, that was all I had. Was last things? Any last things, Ricky? Any last things for the
Nah,
Taste of
most of that
People?
was great. Great talking to you. Yeah, and definitely come through to the studio. I'd love to have you come by.
Perfect. All right, Ricky, you have a great, awesome day. Everyone watching this, you have a great, awesome Tuesday. Have a great rest of the week. And I'll catch you guys soon.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
Ricky,
Bye.
you have a good one.